Welcome to another attempt at another week of the Doe and 5-0 show. I'm the brains, unfortunately. And then there's Joe.
Truly, that's sad.
It is sad. It is very sad. Welcome to another week of the Doe and 5-0 show, everybody. Going to be a little bit of a shortened up show this week. You're welcome.
Yay!
How's your week going, Joe? You got some new equipment in the bakery. Pretty excited about that?
Holy crap! Lightning danced all over our bakery. We talked about before. It took out my fryer, but it ended up taking out my cooler too. Messed with the sheeter. And my electrician, Jacob Bowman, said everything's going to end up going down. He said over the next few months, he said you're going to watch everything because we had a direct hit.
Yeah.
And so we had one check from the insurance company. I'm kind of afraid to cash it. I don't know if that's one of those things saying that, we're done with it. But yeah, so it's been interesting since that all happened.
Well, we took there was some pretty serious lightning. That's been, close to a month ago now, I guess, when all that went down probably. But
you could have said it happened 3 days ago, and I wouldn't know any different.
Yeah, it all runs together anymore.
It does.
There's a lot of businesses in our area that were affected by that. A lot of people got hit by lightning and ain't even homes. So
Dreams to Reality got hit pretty hard, too, with some stuff.
So, looks like all the inclement weather's a little bit south of here now. I guess maybe we'll touch on that later for when we go where we usually go every week. So
Hell?
Hell. We're going to hell later.
Yes,
so.
we are.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into the news. We're going to go to Chicago to start things off this week. A suburban Chicago man is accused of fatally shooting his wife in a fight over a coffee maker.
Well, it's coffee.
I know how passionate you are about your sludge.
Justifiable homicide. Let's hear both sides of this. Well, we can only hear one side, can't we?
We can only hear one.
Okay.
It's too soon.
Shoot.
The Lake County News-Sun reports that 69-year-old Larry Lotz of Barrington, Illinois, showed no emotion Wednesday as Lake County Circuit Judge Daniel Shanes pronounced a verdict of second-degree murder. Lotz was charged in the January 2016 killing of Karen Lotz. Police have said Larry Lotz admitted in a videotaped statement that he shot his wife in their garage after they argued over him leaving on the coffee maker. Authorities say that he shot her in the head and torso. Shanes rejected the insanity defense, saying killing was fueled by alcohol and anger. He could be facing up to 20 years in prison, and his sentencing is scheduled for October 2nd. All because he left on the coffee pot.
Why is that, if he went in there with the intent to kill her, why is that second degree?
I don't know. I don't live in Illinois.
They have different rules there, don't they?
Well, they've got excellent gun control there.
Oh yes, that I forgot that. I can't believe that even happened.
I can't believe it happened either.
Huh.
Strange how that works.
Yeah. So she yelled at him apparently for leaving the coffee maker on. He was drunk.
Yeah.
During the day, 69 years old. So she must have went out in the garage or something, and so he got his. Well, he found a gun someplace because he wouldn't have one. And he shot her for being.
Perhaps we should alcohol. Perhaps we should outlaw booze as well. I mean, that worked in the past.
It worked so well before.
All right.
So no, it's not justifiable because he actually potentially ruined a coffee maker by leaving it on. He should have been shot.
Yeah.
And he should have got life in prison for that.
Out of Sturbridge, Massachusetts, man uses Roman candle to kill hornet's nest, accidentally sets his roof on fire.
Well, he's an idiot, isn't he?
A Massachusetts man learned the hard way that a Roman candle isn't the best way to get rid of a hornet's nest.
Why would you need to learn that?
Yeah. Poor Dave Schmida says he was trying to remove a hornet's nest high up in his family home last Monday when a corner of the roof caught on fire. The 21-year-old first used a more traditional method, spraying the nest with Raid, which is a pesticide spray. When that didn't work, Schmida went to the unconventional method of using a Roman candle to handle the wasps. A video of the incident shows the nest immediately go up in flames, along with eaves. Schmida used a fire extinguisher from the upstairs floor to put the flames out. He says his damage was minimal, with only a few boards left slightly burned. Let's see if the video will load up here.
That must have really been a hell of a shot.
Oh, yeah.
Nice shot.
What could
well, I
possibly
guess
go
he's
wrong
missing.
Here?
There he goes.
Direct
yeah.
hit.
There's a fire.
There
He
goes.
keeps going. There's a fire.
Oops. And he's out the window with his fire extinguisher.
Oh my gosh! But you said something in there that made everything made sense.
Yeah.
He said he was 21.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Any guys that are listening right now that are 21, I'm sorry. It's going to take at least 10 more years for you to pull your heads out of your ass. That's just how it is. We've all been there. I was there. I think I was probably 35 when it happened to me. And there's probably still parts still up there, but it'll be all right. 21 years old. All right.
I was probably about 21 years old. I don't know if I ever told you the story or not, but a bunch of buddies and I had a apartment together.
Already, this is disaster.
Yeah, I mean, that should be enough to know it's going to be problematic. But we had a gas grill, and I couldn't get it to light. You could hear the gas going, but it wouldn't light with the automatic ignition switch.
Right.
So I decided to put a little bit of lighter fluid in there, see if that would make it go. And it shot the biggest damn fireball anybody has ever seen way up into the air, singed my eyebrows and hair off my arms.
But why would the lighter fluid do it? Because the lighter is causing a spark. The gas was already there.
Yeah. I think that just enhanced the
so there must have been a spark, and then you had that,
Yeah.
and oh my.
All the neighbors came running out. Luckily, it was in the back. We have kind of like the apartments weren't like on top of each other in the back. It was just everything was kind of in a shape.
Now, was there alcohol?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a rhetorical question. I didn't mean it as a real question. We already know there is alcohol involved. He was 21.
That's where all great ideas start, right?
That is.
All right. Out of Kennewick, Washington, man's truck stolen while he was robbing the store across the street, according to police report. That's what you call karma.
Did he report it to the police?
Well, here we go. After reporting his truck stolen, a Washington man was arrested because investigators determined that he had been inside a store robbing it during the theft. William Kelly, age 42, reported a Chevrolet pickup truck had been stolen Sunday morning, according to a report from the Kennewick Police Department. Kelly said he left his keys on the front seat while looking for a bathroom nearby. An unidentified man on a 10-speed bicycle rode by the truck, discovered Kelly left his keys in it, then put his bike in the bed of the truck and drove away.
He didn't want to lose his bike.
Kelly told police he had been at the tavern Saturday night and went home with friends, leaving the truck there. But upon watching surveillance video from the tavern, investigators determined that was in fact not the case. Instead, police say Kelly arrived at the location at about 5:30 a.m. He's accused of then going into a business across the street from the tavern to burglarize it. While he was inside, allegedly stealing items, his truck was then stolen. Police confirmed the car theft with the surveillance video. Kelly was arrested on an outstanding warrant and booked in with a new charge of burglary. The identity of the car thief is still unknown, and his truck has yet to be located. Oops.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. I guess to have the balls. He had an outstanding warrant too. He still called the police.
You'd be surprised how frequently that happens.
You remember what I said about 21-year-old?
Yeah.
Apparently 42-year-old too.
Sometimes age has no limits to stupidity.
No, I guess. I guess not.
That's all we got in the national news this week, Joe. You ready to go to?
That's it.
That's it.
That's all we've got.
It's gonna be a shorter
all
show
of a sudden,
this week,
people aren't as stupid as they normally are. That's hard to believe.
Well, the country seems to be consumed news-wise by where we're getting ready to go.
Oh,
Florida.
All right, Florida. Well, but we could do local news and still fill the show up, couldn't we?
Probably.
But we can't, can we?
We can't. Not this week. Not this week. So.
Okay.
All right. It's time. That's time for this week in Florida.
Florida.
Well, in Florida, a local HOA said a cop car can't park in their driveway. The way I see it, the HOA should move to California. Hell, let the cops stay. What the hell is with Florida, where all crazy shit seems to come from? A week won't pass by without lots of stories proving that Florida's dumb.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful, windy, rainy week in Florida. No special effects. No special effects.
No.
All
no.
right.
Talked about it.
Talked about it. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive into the headlines for Florida.
Ooh, not diving into that.
Nope, not diving into that. Florida surfer attacked by shark opts for a bar trip instead of a hospital visit, according to his friends. A professional surfer who was attacked by a shark in Florida didn't go to the hospital after the incident. He instead went to the bar, according to his friends. Franco Rourke, age 23. There you go. He was surfing at Jacksonville Beach last Saturday around 3:30 p.m. when the shark attacked him in the water. The shark comes out of the water and grabs onto my right arm close to my elbow, he told ABC News. Kind of tugs at it a little bit and thrashes around. O'Rourke then jokes, I guess it tasted me, and was like, nope, don't want you. His friend R.J. Berger, who said he was swimming with O'Rourke at the time, said the shark pretty much came fully out of the water. His tail, splashed everywhere, dude. Berger said his friend then kept saying, I think I got bit, and noted that once he got to the beach, he just started bleeding everywhere. The blood just started rushing down his arm. O'Rourke was quickly treated by lifeguards, but he opted not to go to the hospital. Instead, Berger told the news station that O'Rourke immediately went to a bar because he's like, I got bit by a shark. And people were like, I'll buy you drinks. So he went and hung out at the bar at the pier. Despite the scare, Berger said he still plans to surf, and so was Frank. It was not immediately clear if he ever went to the hospital for treatment.
I cry bullshit. That picture of the shark is not the shark that bit him.
Well, that's his arm, though.
Yeah, that's his arm. I've seen shark bites. Okay. That's, I think he just needs to have another drink.
Dude, I got bit by the shark, man. Have you seen Jaws? He wouldn't even know what the hell Jaws is. That's way too old for him. So.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't remade Jaws. They've remade so many movies over the years. Jaws would be, that could be pretty intense nowadays.
Yeah.
All special effects and everything.
Yeah.
Out of Port Orange, Florida teacher fights to get job back after being recorded mowing the yard naked.
This was my other song. And I kind of enjoyed that song because I got to say that he mowed the lawn with no pants on, I think is how it went. So it was pretty good, but my wife's a teacher, so I thought I better just let that one lie.
Stay out of the doghouse just for once.
Yeah.
A Florida teacher was caught on camera mowing his lawn while nude is fighting to get his job back, according to the local news station. The teacher was demoted to a non-teaching position after he was recorded, but the teachers union said the punishment does not fit the crime. Volusia United Educators President Elizabeth Albert says this. Albert says that when her longtime teacher Brian Wheeler mowed the yard naked at his Port Orange home back in 2017, he made a very poor decision.
I thought that was my favorite part. That was a poor decision.
A neighbor recorded Wheeler and filed a police complaint. According to the documents obtained by WESH, which is the local news station, Wheeler believes the neighbor has issues with him.
Well, yeah, he mows his yard naked.
It's Florida. Isn't this normal behavior?
I don't know.
Wheeler was charged with exposure of sexual organs and disorderly conduct. The exposure charge was dropped and the disorderly conduct dismissed in a deferred prosecution agreement. Wheeler was not convicted of a crime. This is a man who has, for over 2 decades of history, teaching our children in our community and successfully doing so. Wheeler was working at Cypress Elementary in Port Orange, Florida, when he was removed. He was a tenured teacher with an unblemished record. According to documents obtained, many parents and colleagues supported him. However, a handful of families and young children did not. School district officials, who gave Wheeler a written reprimand along with a demotion out of the classroom, refused to reconsider their decision. In addition to Volusia County, the Florida Department of Education investigated and just this past May found probable cause in Brian Wheeler's case to pursue disciplinary action. The complaint will be heard this October. However, Albert said the settlement has been reached in Wheeler's case, and the October hearing is just a rubber stamp on it. According to Albert in the paperwork that she showed us, Wheeler will be fined but will retain his teaching credentials. This will allow Wheeler to keep his credential would infer that officials feel that he has instilled the caliber that is able to work with our kids and teach successfully. Albert said that since the school district has so far refused that, the union will arbitrate on his behalf. Wheeler never lost his teaching certificate, so he had the option to teach somewhere else in Florida, but the union representatives say he's committed to Volusia County.
Well, committed. What the problem is, he went to other schools and nobody else would take him. I
Maybe it was hot, man.
I don't know. Why did he do that? What was his reason? Was he trying to piss off this neighbor? Were they having a pissing contest? And that's what, I guess we need to know about that stuff. And they took him out of teaching, but he was still at the school. So what was he doing? What was he? He wasn't teaching anymore, but he was still at the school being paid. So what was his job?
If he's still in the building, whether they demoted him to
right,
whatever.
If they considered him a threat, and he's not a threat, really. It's not like he was going to take his clothes off while he.
If he's still working for the school corporation and he's still in that building, which I guess it doesn't say he is, but if he is in that building or any of the corporation's buildings, he's still around kids, right?
Right.
So,
But he's not. Honestly, he's not a threat to the kids. It was a poor decision.
Yeah.
But was it alcohol related, or was it, like I said, with pissing contest for that neighbor? That neighbor complaining about stupid crap, so he said, "I'll give you something." Maybe he thought it was funny, and that's why he did it. But they don't. They never tell you the whole story on these things. Mm-hmm. Isn't that weird at the press?
Yeah. Part of the story. Last story out of Florida this week, Joe. An HOA threatens a police officer fines for parking his patrol car in the driveway.
Yep.
This is what inspired Joe's song this week. Out of East Lake, Florida, a homeowners association has told a Clearwater police officer to stop parking her marked police vehicle in her driveway, or in fact face fines for violating the local HOA neighborhood rules. Of course, your first thought is this a joke? Well, this is the most absurd thing I've ever heard of, according to attorney Dan Perry. Perry spoke on behalf of the Clearwater police officer and her husband, who is also a police officer, and said the couple is being threatened with hundreds of dollars in HOA violations if they continue to park their SUVs in their driveway. He said that Clearwater police officers are given their police vehicles to take home because it saves on response times, and it also helps deter crimes in neighborhoods where police officers live. Every place that I've ever lived, if I had a police cruiser parked next to me, I felt safe, according to Perry. However, Holiday Isles Management, which is the HOA managing Cross Point Lake in East Lake Woodlands, does not agree. Florida laws permits HOAs to ban the parking of commercial vehicles from parking in driveways. However, an opinion issued by then Florida Attorney General Charlie Crist in 2005 determines that police cars were not considered commercial vehicles. The HOA, however, doesn't think the opinion applies to them. Holiday Isles Management said the officer's police cruiser violated HOA rules because it was issued by a government agency. They don't have that vehicle for the purpose of profit, according to Perry. He said that, however, the HOA's rule was written, it didn't make sense to enforce it. Maybe there are bad rules sometimes, according to Perry. You don't enforce those rules, you change them. He said that law enforcement officers face tragedy every day working for the community, and they don't need to deal with needless stress at home. We just hope that they can go home to their family and just live their lives, but now it looks like they're being harassed by the HOA. The Clearwater chief of police stood up for his officer and issued a statement on Tuesday. The actions of this association to changing the rules is disappointing, to say the least, according to Clearwater Police Chief Dan Slaughter. If you're going to change the rules on them, it seems logical to provide a grandfather clause that the association will honor, not a grandfather clause they changed on the mind of honoring. The community has demanded officers be dedicated community servants and respond day or night to emergencies. Chief Slaughter would continue to say that this officer and her spouse have served their community admirably. I can't talk today. When Irma hit our community, they put kids on a plane to relatives because they both had to work during that storm. Both the police chief and Perry told ABC News they plan to talk to local and state lawmakers to demand they pass a law prohibiting HOAs from going after first responders for parking their cars in their driveways. What say you, Joe DeRosier, about this HOA by law?
Sometimes when people are that effing stupid, you just can't even. I can't fathom. I can't why you would not want. I would love for there to be police cars all over my neighborhood. It just seems safer. And, they have their personal vehicles too, so I'm sure they don't have room in their garages to put the police vehicles too. So their only other choice is to not bring them home. Mm-hmm. And then if they're called for an emergency, they have to go back to the police station, get those vehicles, and then take off. So if that's what the HOA really wants, could cost lives.
Mm-hmm. It depends on the capabilities of the department. The department I work for, we have take-home vehicles as long as you reside within the county that you serve. Mm-hmm. A lot of sheriff's departments, at least in this area, some of them have their county and surrounding counties personal usage of their vehicles. We don't have personal use of the vehicles. It's just to and from home.
Right.
A lot of sheriff's departments have, their county and surrounding counties. Some sheriff's departments have statewide use of the vehicles. State police have statewide use, typically, of their vehicles' personal use. With that being said, I used to live in a little bit of a residential area out in the county where I serve in, and my neighbors seem to enjoy having my car there in the driveway because it helps deter crime. It makes them feel a little bit safer.
Yep.
I know when I would work night shift, my wife really disliked it. I don't know if she disliked it because I wasn't home in bed with her as much as she did the fact that the police car wasn't in the driveway anymore at night.
Right.
So it does bring a peace of mind to people.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, and in this case, and I think we've talked on HOAs before. I think it's been a long time since we did, but some of the crazy rules and bylaws that these people come up with, something like this, for instance, the American flag, I think was the last one maybe we talked about.
Oh, God, that's right. Oh, that pissed me off.
And the guy painted the big American flag in his front lawn, like F you, But
yeah, that was good.
I understand that there's probably pros and cons to an HOA. I've never lived in a neighborhood that has them, and I probably never will, just because
I do, but ours are so loose that they're just kind of open for interpretation. But yeah, sometimes they just can be. Sometimes people are running these things that get a little bit of a power trip.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's insane to me. I mean, why would you mess with police officers? They're not bothering anybody. Holy cow, they're just parking their police vehicles in the driveway.
Well, I mean, a lot of HOAs don't let you keep the vehicles out. They don't want. I see what they're trying to do, but not police vehicles.
So I'm assuming this is probably a decent neighborhood if they have an HOA, right? So
right.
Let's say that there's a burglary in the middle of the night. Somebody's breaking into your home, and then it's in this neighborhood. And what if they're going to call 911? I'm guessing. And what if they want an immediate response? They're wanting a quick response. Well, all of a sudden my neighbors don't have their car anymore.
Nope.
And, I'm assuming that...
Now they're going to have to wait for somebody to come in.
Yeah, I mean, what's the department policy? Is it going to be, are we going to call them out whether they have
Hey,
the car
but you
or
know
not?
what? Eventually you guys won't have guns either, so
Yeah.
it won't matter.
Just use silly string to go after the bad guys before it's all said and done.
I think donuts.
Donuts?
Yep.
Everybody likes donuts.
Yeah, I think donuts would be a good way to deter crime.
So, well, that's all the idiocracy type news out of Florida this week. Obviously,
No, it's not all of it.
Well, that's
we
what
don't
I
have
was out
time
for
for
the
all
show,
of it.
so,
Okay.
Obviously, our thoughts are with everybody down there that are facing the impending storm coming in there. So hopefully it won't be as bad as they're projecting it to be. We sent a meme out on our Facebook, all of our social media accounts last week with Joe portraying the famous weatherman that goes to all the traumatic weather events. So we should have just hopped on a plane and gone down there for a live show.
We should do that.
So.
One of these days I'll actually have a day off and we'll have to do a remote from some sort of catastrophe-laden place.
You'll never take a day off. It'll never happen.
No, probably not.
That's all we got for Florida this week, folks. We're going to finish things up this week by, I guess it's partially political, partially sports related. We're going to go ahead and talk about NCAA athletes and whether or not they should be paid to go to school.
That's a fun one. I didn't know we were going to do that. Oh,
Stay
I'm
tuned
excited.
for our last segment, folks. All right, everybody, welcome to the last segment of this week's show. We're going to talk a little bit, I guess it kind of falls a little bit on maybe a little bit of politics and college athletics. It's been, for many years now, there's been a lot of discussion by former athletes, a lot of sports analysts, college sports analysts, of whether or not college athletes should be paid. Joe, I know you're not a big video game guy, but at one point in time, the NCAA had they had college football and basketball games. I believe the football game it made a lot of money each year. They would release a new game just like the NFL releases a John Madden football game every single year and makes a gazillions of dollars off of it.
Yeah.
College was the same way. The difference would be that they didn't necessarily use the athlete's name. However, they would use their likeness. Okay, they would look like the athletes. They would be the same height, same weight, same position. You know what I mean? So the NCAA would be making all of this money. Obviously, times change, and athletes are getting more and more exposed with social media and everything else. So they're in the public's eye a lot more than they used to be. I'm not sure how I feel about it, I guess, because I don't know. They're getting a free education, right? And
which is worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
It's worth a lot of money. And I don't know how you can say that they automatically should receive compensation for it. I mean, everybody's on camera now, whether you want to be or not. My God, if you go to
the bakery,
you go to freaking Walmart to shop for groceries, you're on the surveillance system.
Right.
And if you happen to be in this video where something happens that's newsworthy and the news picks it up and then they start showing this video footage and everything else.
We're on camera right now.
We're on camera right now.
And there's 4 people that are going to see it.
Yeah.
Well,
all 4 of you.
3 people that are going to see it. So I see what you're saying, that It's not like they're getting a whole lot of extra. Well, they are getting more exposure than that, though. I mean, nobody's checking out the Walmart footage to see me going in there getting a bag of salt. But
Well, back in just within the last few weeks, more than 50,000 former college athletes started collecting portions of a $208 million class action settlement paid by the NCAA in a case that challenges caps on compensation. Hagens Berman, which is the law firm representing various plaintiffs in the Alston versus the NCAA court trial, said Wednesday that 53,748 FBS football players and Division I men and women's basketball players who competed between March of 2010 and March of 2017 are eligible to receive this compensation. The law firm said payments will range from $5,000 to $7,500 for those who competed for 4 years, and checks will start being they were distributed in late August. Distribution was held up by one objector to the settlement who missed the July 17th deadline to appeal the case. The settlement of damages in the case was approved by U.S. District Judge Claudia Wilkin in 2017. Earlier in the year, Wilkins issued a narrow ruling against the NCAA in the Alstott case, saying the association will not cap compensation to athletes and related to education.
all right, so what did it say? 4,000 to 7,500. So
Yeah.
between $1,000 a year and $1,750 a year, something like that, is what they're getting compensated, which isn't very much at all.
Yeah.
So they spent more in lawyers' fees probably than what anything else.
Mm-hmm.
That was just stupid. You want to hear my thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do.
So these athletes make a lot of money for these universities, a lot of money. Coaches, football, basketball coaches especially, make tons of money
Yeah.
to do this. So all the revenue that they're getting from the TV, where does this money go? What do the universities do with all this money? This is what I propose. I'm sure they'll be thinking about this now. Mm-hmm. So I think, okay, they get a free education, which is worth a lot of money. 50%, and I'm being kind, 50% of these athletes really don't take advantage of that education, do they? They graduate early if they can.
Right.
And they try to go pro if they can, so that gets disregarded. So let's say half of them actually take advantage of that, which is a waste. They should all take advantage of that. Eventually, they're not going to be pros if they do make it. Anyway, give them, instead of just giving them free education, give them some living expenses. Don't give them the money. Don't hand them a check. Give them free food. Mm-hmm. So they get certificates for different, either a grocery store, commissary, something like that for food. A stipend for some sort of clothes and stuff like that.
Right.
And then take all this money that they're making, and instead of putting it into the universities to make these higher ceilings or whatever the fuck they're doing with all this money, make tuition affordable. Make it so you can actually afford to go to college. These people that are going to large universities for 4 years, getting their educations, unless they have a rich mommy and daddy that are taking care of it, or unless it's exactly the opposite, where they get what's that called? There is a program if you're hurting for money that you can get free education, and that's awesome. But the people in the middle are getting stuck. I know young men and women that have gotten out of universities and they owe $200,000, $300,000 to start out their careers. And some of these careers are only careers that are making $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 to start. You know how long it's going to take to pay that back? And what they don't explain to these kids, I don't know if you ever talked to someone recently graduated from college. They help you set up these loans. They're very good about that. But they don't tell you that these loans start accumulating interest the day you sign that paper. They don't tell you that if you work just a little bit throughout your college and put it towards that loan, how much that'll save you. So they get out of college thinking, oh, it's only 2%, 2.5%, something like that. But that 2.5% has been accumulating since their freshman year. So they are they're screwed when they get out.
Yeah.
And you spend years and years and years and years and years trying to pay this back. Use this money from the athletics and put it towards that. Help the athletes out a little bit more, but don't give them a check. Because a lot of them, because they're young, what we're talking about, people under 30,
Right.
you can't give them that kind of freedom. You give them money for food, for clothes, for the basics, and then help with that.
And I kind of wonder, and maybe there's different sides to this argument. You hear it every year with each passing year. A lot of the analysts, a lot of athletes that maybe were successful in college and couldn't make the successful transition to the NBA or the NFL, where they'd be making big money. I should have made my money while I can. Or you see the tragic one.
They were getting an education. I don't feel sorry for them. They're getting a free education.
But we've talked
they
about
should have
this,
done that and then
we've
gotten
talked about
into
this
a job.
before. A lot of these guys that are successful athletes in college, when you see them try and put two words together to form a sentence.
Yes. They didn't
Their
take advantage
education
of their
isn't working.
No, well, because they're not being forced to go.
Right. So this is what's crazy to me, Joe. Last year, when I say the NCAA tournament, that's March Madness for those of you that maybe aren't basketball fans or collegiate fans. It's one of the biggest sporting events in the United States, well, in the world, really. People tune in from all over the place to watch this. Even if you're not a big a diehard college basketball fan, a lot of people will tune in just because the games are so unpredictable. There's a lot of betting that goes on those games, and a lot of people either lose their ass or make a lot of money.
That's illegal.
I'm just saying it's a big one every year. Last year was a record-breaking year for the NCAA tournament, Joe. It's 3 weeks long. $1 billion just the NCAA made from that. Just the NCAA.
Yeah, and what are they doing with that money? They're paying all the people up here instead of helping everybody.
Well, here we go.
All right.
68 teams get an invitation to play in this tournament each year. Each of those teams' conferences will get a piece of a $220 million pot of money. For each game a team plays, its conference gets a payout, which is spread over 6 years. For playing one game, the team's conference gets roughly $1.7 million. If a team makes it all the way to the final championship game, it can earn as many as 5 units, totaling $8.3 million. If a team makes the final game from the first 4 bracket, it could earn a total of 6 units. Over the course, each conference wants to see as many of its member schools in the tournament as possible. That's why the conference as a whole benefits from it.
Right.
To raise the payout it receives, obviously. For a smaller, lesser-known conferences, the basketball fund money they receive can represent more than 70%, Joe, of their annual income.
Wow.
So those Cinderella teams that make it, that's a big deal for the teams and the conference as a whole. Because they're not going to make the money that a Big Ten or the ACC might make, The NCAA urges conferences to divide the money equally among their member schools, but they're not required to do so. So, if big bad, I don't know, Indiana University, I mean, they're not as powerful as they once were, but we live in Indiana, so, if they make the tournament, and usually a handful of Big Ten teams do every year,
right?
But they're not required to share it with, the smaller schools necessarily. So the bottom line really is there's plenty of criticism that funds the model of the NCAA, the way they do it. The colleges see very little, while the players who actually create all this income, they see nothing. So obviously the big problem is, and we've seen this over the years, of if the Indiana Hoosiers have this, the best collegiate basketball player in the land, and back in the day they used to pump these guys out left and right, and what if he gets hurt and he can't go on to the NBA? So here's a flip side of maybe to think about is, maybe, I agree, you can't give this kind of money to an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid because you see it even in the pros. They can't handle it as pros.
No.
So maybe we need to invest it for them, or maybe we need to put an insurance policy on these kids, not for the school, but for the kids themselves. So if,
I like that.
If
I
player
like
A is projected to sign a $30 million contract with the NBA once he graduates college, but he can't fulfill that because he shattered his leg and he'll never be the same again.
I can see some sort of injury policy. That's a good idea.
To me, that would be a good way to invest in it.
Obviously, the distribution is jacked. And what's funny is that the smaller schools who don't get very much money at all are the ones that would need the most money for their athletic programs to make them better. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the whole, I could get on the education thing, but that take up the whole segment, but
yeah.
But I don't think they should be. They're getting exposure that they wouldn't have got otherwise. That would give them that gives them a podium to do other things. Mm-hmm. That can be their their pay, their compensation, and they get to play a sport that they love.
So the other flip side of that would be the other big moneymaker for the NCAA is obviously college football. So basketball and football, those are the two.
I'm a football guy.
They rule the roost here in the United States of America. So,
Yep.
Obviously, once it comes time for the tournament, I guess you see time you would say, and that's changed a little bit over the last couple of years. There's now a playoff format for football. It could still be tweaked to be better, in my opinion, but it's better now than it was.
Right.
There's multiple bowl games. You have everything from the Orange Bowl to the freaking Toilet Bowl.
That's gotten watered down a lot. It used to be if you were in the Rose Bowl, that was awesome. But now there's so many bowls.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how many there are. So each conference receives $300,000 for each school that meets the NCAA's academic performance review for participation in a postseason bowl game. Whatever that means, right?
So, that's bullshit.
Independents such as Notre Dame, we're in beautiful Notre Dame today.
Is that where we are?
Also receive the same amount. Each of the 10 conferences receive a base payout, again pending the academic performance review. So for the Power 5 conferences with contracts ascended as champions to the Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl, those are the big those are now serve as the championship games for the big conferences.
Right.
Each conference receives, Joe, around $54 million for that game. For the other group of 5 conferences that do not have automatic bids for its champions, such as an independent as Notre Dame, who's competitive year in and year out more often than not, they have to divide a total of around $81.32 million amongst themselves. Notre Dame does automatically get an automatic $2.65 million if it meets that academic review, which they do because they focus on athletics year in and year out. Each conference gets an annual $6 million for every football team it sends to the playoffs semifinal game. So you see a lot of hatred towards like the Pac-10, for instance. It seems like every team they have gets some type of bowl game. Yeah. So that conference is getting $6 million for each team that it sends to a semifinal game. So
it's not distributed well. I'm telling you, it's going to the wrong people.
It's crazy. So, like the AAC, which is a smaller conference, they have one team that's pretty competitive every year. That's Cincinnati football, Cincinnati Bearcats. So when they go to a bowl game, like last year, they went to the Military Bowl. They got $2.7 million. The smallest team out of that conference was Tulane. They received $750,000. That's a pretty big difference between.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could break all these down. It's crazy how much money, how much discrepancy there is between the bowl games and what the teams make. But again, the players don't see any of that, even though their likeness is being used to promote the crap out of it. So.
And all these games were supposed to be to promote the colleges, right?
Right.
So why aren't they distributed evenly for all the colleges?
Yeah.
And like I said, these guys, these young men and women are getting paid, especially if you're getting a scholarship for Notre Dame. How much is that a year? $10 billion or something? That's a hell of an edge. And not to back up Lee on this stuff, but Notre Dame, you get a Notre Dame education.
Yeah.
You pretty much pave your way.
Work wherever you want.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world.
So that's very, if they're, and normally you can't get into Notre Dame unless you have to be pretty smart to get into Notre Dame.
Genius.
Yeah, you can't.
And you got to have money more often than not. So.
Right. Even a really good gifted athlete can get in there. They don't have as many exceptions there as they do.
No, and that's been schools. That's been a topic of controversy amongst the Notre Dame fan base for decades now.
Paul Hornung made a pretty famous quote. I don't know if you know about that, and I'll tell you off the air what it was. But it was something that would have got his ass fired if he said it now.
So I mean, they say. For the Irish faithful or the ones that hate Notre Dame out there, that they say that Notre Dame can't compete because of their strict regulations with their student athletes.
Right.
And
yet they still do.
They're not willing to look the other way to get these 5-star, 4-star blue chip athletes from all over the world like they used to. And it's showing because of their lack of competition on the field and on the court. Well, I disagree. Because it's not been that long since Notre Dame just competed for a national championship. But it was an ugly game, but they made it there.
Well, and you can't tell me they're as strict now as they were.
Yeah, and
10 years ago.
The men's team's been they've been on a downturn the last year or two. But before that, they've been really competitive in the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. The women just won a national championship a year or so ago. basketball team.
I didn't know they had a girls basketball team.
Yeah, best in the land just within the last year or so.
I don't watch that. I'm sorry.
But I'm just saying, they can compete. They're very competitive.
That reminds me of that meme that you just put on Doing 5-0 the other day with the women's rally, and there's a guy with the plane.
Where's my damn dinner?
Oh, that about made me pee in my pants. I laughed so hard.
But, you're never going to get people that agree on this, just like the college football playoff format. You're never going to get people that completely agree with how it's done.
I'll tell you what, I don't know one person with common sense that doesn't believe that shouldn't be changed.
Yeah. But there's people, this is great,
No, because there's money changing hands there. You
Right.
can't tell me it's any different than somebody's getting a lot of money to keep it the way it is. That's just how it is.
But with the way this reads, with the way the teams make money, the teams and the conferences make money based on how far they get, why not make it more like March Madness? And I'm not saying you need to have 3 weeks worth of football games, because that would be kind of out of control for football.
Right, because those guys can get hurt.
But, what is it, the top 4 teams now, I think?
Yeah,
and
that's
the
just stupid.
And, then you get into the arguments of, well, who the hell did USC beat this year? Who the hell did Alabama beat this year?
Yeah, it's a big
they're
point
playing
system.
and it's, they typically, they don't play hardly anybody throughout the year, where then you get the people, well, who Notre Dame play? Well, they make their own schedule, and they play Michigan, they play Florida, they play Miami, they play.
What is it, based on the BCS rankings?
Yeah, so.
And when those first, do you remember before BCS? It was even worse then.
Yeah.
And when BCS first came out, and they go by strength of schedule and all this other stuff, but remember somebody said there's one extra letter in there that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I mean, the NCAA, it needs revamped. It really does.
It really. Well, there's a lot of. It's just like politics. It's just like the education system. There's lobbyists. There's people getting paid to keep things the way they want to get paid, so a few people can make a lot more money.
Yeah.
And it's too bad that it can't be for what it was meant to be. And it was supposed to be a competitive, fun thing, and it's turned into a money thing. As soon as there's money involved, it becomes corrupt.
And it's sad when you're talking about, teenagers is what they are. They're legally adults, but their brain isn't fully developed by the time they graduate college. Most of them, or leave early, which a lot of them leave early.
Yeah.
And then most of them become failures in whatever sport they leave for, whether it's NFL or NBA.
And it's not because they're terrible athletes. It's
they're just
because,
not ready. So.
Well, it's so hard. What the percentages of the chance of actually making a professional team and staying so small yet. So
yeah, well, I mean,
and they're they'll get an agent or something. The agent's telling them everything they want to hear, and they're too young to realize their parents. Most of them are probably excited. They haven't had any money, and they believe the agents too, and just so sad.
Yeah, the kids and the families, they get taken, and one of Notre Dame's more successful quarterbacks in recent memory was Deshaun Kaiser. He went to your team, the Packers. Yeah. And they just cut him within the last day or two.
Oh, did he get cut?
Yeah. And I think he landed on his feet in Oakland. Well, sorry.
Well, and, I'll tell you, and he lost out to some guy. I don't think he was even drafted. I think he's a free agent. Yeah. And who's going to be our second string quarterback. I knew that there was some controversy. I didn't realize he actually got cut. But that was the case.
I mean, as a guy that watches Notre Dame football religiously, in my opinion, Deshaun Kaiser was not ready to make the leap to the NFL.
Brady Quinn was another one.
Brady Quinn, and he graduated from Notre Dame.
Yeah, but he couldn't.
But these people that have all these tests, what is it, the Wonderlic test? I think that the NFL provides, and this guy's going to be the greatest. As much as I freaking hate Tom Brady, he was drafted all the way at the bottom of the draft. Yeah, look at all the championships and records that guy's had over the course of his career. So. But we've gotten way off topic here. Should they be paid?
The hell were we talking about?
Should they be paid? Should they not be paid? I personally don't think they should be physically paid in cash. I do think their future should be secured in some way for them. I mean, they're already getting a free education from wherever they are.
Insurance policy.
I do think that they should be insured in case they get injured. You know, especially if they're an extremely good athlete. So.
Now there is one other thing that the sports take up a lot of their time. They can't get a part-time job.
Right.
Now, I do think there should be some sort of stipend for their food.
Right.
And
that's reasonable.
Basic living. They should.
But if you're talking about giving them thousands of dollars a month, no, I don't agree with that at all.
No.
So. There's plenty of other students out there that work their butts off.
Yes.
Both in the classroom, and then they have to go get some pissant paying part-time job to help make ends meet.
And it's funny that if you're like a genius in the classroom and you really excel in your classroom stuff, and you're going to get, and you don't get shit.
Yeah.
You don't get to be on TV. Yeah. You don't get to do anything, but because you're vertically challenged and not good looking or whatever, you can't get anything.
And there's instances where these very intelligent people, especially like in the science field, their professors will rely on them if they're trying to get something passed in the medical science field or something like that. They'll rely on their students to do a lot of that work for them. Then they make their professors look good, and their professors get all this credit, and these kids don't get jack a lot of times. So
it's kind of the same thing. Then,
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
the whole system is screwed up. There's no doubt about that. Just like the whole political system in general, it's screwed up. But
oh God,
I guess in my opinion, no, I don't think the athletes deserve to be paid. They're already technically being paid because they're getting a free freaking education.
Right.
And if they're not smart enough to take advantage of that, then shame on them. But I do think that they should be offered the opportunity, like you said, maybe give it a stipend for food and clothing within reason.
Right.
And then obviously, in my opinion, they should be insured, especially if they have a chance to go pro and whatever it is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But to pay them, I think they would just squander it away. And then obviously, if they're paid, they're no longer amateur athletes. So how does that affect our country going forward in like the Olympics? So
see, the Olympics are messed up too, though, because how many other countries they're really professional athletes. That's all they do.
Yeah.
But because they're not called professional,
right.
they can compete in that. And it's always
But if you
been
pay
unfair.
these kids, then they're going to be considered professional.
Well, I mean, our basketball team, we use NBA people
Yeah.
now. So do they still do that?
Well, I don't know how it's different between, I guess, basketball and curling, for instance, But I mean, all these.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about sports.
Yeah, but all these, as far as basketball goes, all those other countries, well, I shouldn't say all, but a lot of those other countries use their professional players as well.
Right, but they
the
always
United
did.
States was one of the last ones
Right.
to go to
Right.
pro athletes. So.
And then of course, we had the Dream Team, which has never really been matched, has it?
No, I don't care what anybody says. There will never be another team like that placed.
That was
together,
amazing. How amazing to watch them.
They say that the greatest, all these reporters and stuff and coaches, well, I don't even think reporters are in there, but all these coaches said best basketball game they ever saw was just a scrimmage. They put, I don't remember who was on what side, but you look up the roster of what that was back in, was that 92, I think? They put Michael on one side and they put Magic on this one. They put Bird on this side. They put Pippen on that one.
Yeah.
And they just went. The cameras weren't rolling, and they said it was the damnedest game they'd ever seen.
Oh, I bet
because
that
those
was
guys
just-
were competitive as hell.
Oh, yeah.
So you don't.
I would imagine, what was it, Chuck Daly?
Yeah, he was
That
the head coach,
coached
and Mike
them?
Krzyzewski was the assistant.
And,
he was one of the best college coaches that ever lived. So.
I bet that was a nightmare at first, though, because
Oh,
they
yeah.
all, even if they got along, they had
Yeah.
the egos had to be amazing.
Yeah, that would've
And
been
the
a fun one
trash
to watch,
talking.
so.
Can you
Yeah,
imagine how
yeah.
much trash talking went on there?
Yeah, so that
Was-
would have been a good one to watch.
Was Reggie Miller on that?
He was on the sequel team,
Okay.
which they were a good team too. It's probably the two best teams they've ever put together as far
Right.
as blowing people out of the water.
They had something to prove, though.
Yeah.
They were on a mission, and I think once they got focused, they just tore everyone up.
Yeah.
That was one. I mean, for me, I can't even tell you who most of the NBA players are now.
I couldn't either.
I know some of them. I hear the names. Of course, I know LeBron James, but back then the stars were different. Magic Johnson, Dr. J, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. That was fun.
Well, there's been obviously a lot of different inclinations of that since the original Dream Team. In my opinion, you'll never see anything like that again, just because the players today don't seem to be as dedicated to
A team.
the team concept as they were back then.
No, it's different now.
Your players, your Bird, your Jordan, your Johnsons, they didn't start winning championships until they started trusting their teammates a little bit more,
Right.
And started distributing.
And that was
the ball,
something,
so.
it never. LeBron James is like a one-man show. He always seems to be.
Yeah.
But, people talk about Michael Jordan, but no Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
And then you always had that big guy. You had Rodman was there. I can't remember who it was, but Horace Grant before
Grant,
Rodman.
Cartwright.
Yeah, and those guys, there was a team thing. They all had Rodman wasn't asked to score, but he got some boards though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
He always knew where to be.
a rebounding machine.
That ugly son of a bitch. But in L.A. and Boston, and those guys, they had these powerhouses back in the late 70s and 80s and early 90s, but there was always a team going on. It wasn't one guy.
Yeah. Well, we
Way
somehow
off
gone from paying athletes to talking about the Chicago Bulls.
That's a lot more fun, I'll tell you that.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, if you're going to do it, insure them for their future, just in case. and maybe give them a stipend to get through college. But my God, they're already receiving an education from really established places, most of them, so
Yeah.
Whether it's Notre Dame or, as much as I hate them, USC or Alabama, we're talking about places that have been around in education for, centuries in some cases. So.
I got kind of a cool story, and then I'll shut the hell up. I went to, when I was out in California for the Army, we had a school that we went to, a DLI. And one of our professors there, I may have told you this story before.
I don't think so.
One of our professors used to be a professor at Stanford. And we were talking to him one day. It was me and Ricky DeKaiser, who was a friend of mine that happened to be from Wisconsin also. And we found out that he was teaching there at the same time as James Lofton when he went there. You know who James Lofton is? Mm-hmm. Star wide receiver, went and played for the Packers, did great. He played for Oakland. There's one other team, but great player, could catch anything. Man was amazing. I think he had 18, 19-yard average. Amazing. And we said, well, did you ever teach him? And he said, oh, James Lofton, he was a very big black man, right? And we said, yeah. He said, yeah, he played with that ball. He said, yeah, that's him. Oh, he would come in, I don't know, once a week or something. And he would come in and he would sit down and he would put his feet up on the desk, and I would say, James, dude, get your feet off the desk. And he would he'd take them off, but he would never come, and I failed him. But at the end of the year, he had a passing grade, and I don't know, I never understood why. So, I think I know why. Yeah. And unfortunately, that didn't help James Lofton. Right. That didn't, and he did fine because he had a great career. But I wonder how many other athletes. I mean, that's Stanford. That's a big school.
And it's sad, and it's all corruption, because I've personally seen it with my own eyes when I was in high school. Star athletes that the team, whether it was a basketball team or football team, you really couldn't miss them, especially in a big game. If your rival's coming to town, and you see them get handed their papers back where they flunked. They can't hardly spell their name. They can't speak a complete sentence, but they're constantly on the field and on the floor.
Yeah.
Obviously, it happens at the collegiate level.
Yep.
And then, once you get to the pros, then you start dealing with the police and drug violations and stuff more than anything, I guess. But
oh, my God. Well, you've talked about it. You see an interview with these guys. Oh, well, we got the... It's like, really? You have a college education? Yeah. I'm an idiot. I speak better than that.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same.
I don't know. I guess it's up to your interpretation whether you think they deserve it or not. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's just always going to be opinion until some type of bylaw proves otherwise. So, that's going to be the show for this week, folks. And I guess we'll talk to you guys next week. Take care.
Bye. One of the things, a story they have on the news is what Trump eats during the day. Really? It's no wonder they make shit up.
Democrats. He eats Democrats.
They've got nothing.
Welcome to another attempt at another week of the Doe and 5-0 show. I'm the brains, unfortunately. And then there's Joe.
Truly, that's sad.
What the hell is with Florida, where all crazy shit seems to come from? A week won't pass by without lots of stories proving that Florida's dumb.
What the hell did you just do there? There's not something to clean up now, is there?
All right, everybody, welcome to another beautiful, maybe a little bit windy, a little bit rainy week in Florida.
We should have the fan on.
Ooh, that would have been a good effect.
Yeah, we can still do that.
That's what you get for making me the brains of the show.
Well, it's being taped, so we can always stop it. Do we have to do this to stop it then? And then turn the fans on?
What was it? I Dream of Genie? I just make stuff happen. Yeah, that was what it was. What was the snap? I'm thinking somebody that's used to snap.
I don't know. Bewitched had that thing going on with her lip. No, she had the lip thing going on.
What we need to do is, like, in the future, I can bring some fans from home, but get like some wigs with hair and just whoosh, I can see you're into it. As much as I'm into your damn song every week.
Well, I'm just saying, we can hook the fans up, and I have another one up there.
Yeah, but what's it going to blow?
Well, we'd have to take our hats off.
with all of our hair just
Well, I have a
flying?
little bit. Well, all right. If we put our hats on loosely, maybe it'll blow the hats off.
All right. Let's try this again. Because I was jacked.
Proving that Florida's dumb.
Check out this genius from Florida. He lives amongst us.
All right. Well, he already looks like a genius.
Can't see how they haven't come up with some kind of way to combat these storms yet. They keep saying, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, oh, it said this, but it's going to hit all this warm weather and warm water. We have a Navy. Why don't the Navy come and drop ice in the warm water so it can't get going as fast as it's going? There's got to be ways to combat this instead of just pointing at the thing and saying, well, now it's getting worse. Yeah, we know it's getting worse, but you tell us, oh, it's the warm weather. Oh, it's the wind. Well, we have an Air Force. Drive some Air Force planes around to get the winds going the opposite way. The Navy to go in circles. Fight it the other day.
Where's he from? Boston? He had a Boston accent, didn't he? Or a Chicago accent.
Yeah, but he's living in Florida now.
Yeah, they banished him. So you're gonna have to go. Why didn't we got an Air Force? Why don't we take the Air Force and make them fly around so it makes the wind go in a different direction? He's an absolute genius. What was the other one? Oh, we have a Navy.
Yeah.
We'll get some ice cubes.
The ocean's not that big.